Hello and welcome to webinar series, How I Did It. So today we're just going to talk about journey to product management. And we have wonderful speakers today who are product managers and are going to share their story of how they decided to become one. We're also going to discuss about the questions and answers that would help you decide whether you need to be one or you should do something else. So first of all, my name is Sara Furqan. Today I'll be hosting you. Today's agenda is the opening, which is now. We're gonna go into speaker introduction. We will then discuss details of the journey of wonderful speakers. Then we will have keynote speakers, and later on we will have closing. I am basically a technical product manager at TELUS and also a founder of NeedSpot. I'm also a mom and a computer engineer. I have over a decade of experience in tech industry, mainly working as an engineer, but then moving on to being the Scrum Master, product owner, and then finally the technical product manager. I've worked in 3 different countries, Pakistan, Japan, and now finally in Canada. And so without further ado, let's just dig into, discussing with our speakers. So our very first speaker is a wonderful lady, Iman. She's a product manager, product owner at BDC. And I'm not gonna discuss about introduction. I really want her to introduce herself first. So Iman, the floor is yours. Please take it away.
Thank you, Sara. Thank you for the amazing afternoon that you're giving us. So I won't go through all my bio. I'll just say that I think that our generation is going to change the world. I think we're different. I don't think the way we imagine and we create stuff is not like the other generation. And the way I want to work is by challenging the status quo, by defying it. So I started my career in IT. I have a bachelor in IT, a master in management, innovation, and entrepreneurship, like Sara and Alex. And then after that, by the age of 19 years old, I wanted to do something more. I was lucky to have parents, a house, and food on the table. So I was trying to give back. I think we're citizen of the world and not citizen of the country where we live. So I co-founded a foundation that helped kids all over the world. And it's with this mindset, how can we leverage technology to make stuff happen? There's bunch of problems, and I really think that the tech part and the education, that's the solution to where we're going. But the last little thing I can say about me is I actually have a lot of energy. The way I can spread it around, I'll say, and like take off my stress will be with the training. So I do like CrossFit boot camps. I can do like kickboxing. I do hot yoga too. So I do like a bunch of different things, and that can like keep me grounded and like more focused and more calm. So that's like the other thing on this side that keeps me motivated all day. So here you go.
Thank you so much for Iman. I am super excited that you actually said yes to being part of this webinar series. And
My pleasure.
I can't wait to ask a lot of questions to juice out all the information. Have another speaker with us today, and I'm gonna introduce Alex. So Alex is also a product manager, Workday, based in Toronto. So Alex, please introduce yourself to our attendees.
All right, well, hi, my name is Alex, and I'm the PM on the Workday Strategic Sourcing Data and Platform team. So as you can probably guess from that, it's a very technical product management role. So most of what I do is help procurement and sourcing teams manage their data and their communications so that they can save money and build stronger supplier relationships. So they really are trying to strengthen their supply chain via things like ERP, building APIs, and more recently I get to do a bit of work with machine learning. So I didn't really get a start in my career in computer science or in product management. I started by studying biomedical science, but I felt really unfulfilled after that. So I went on a tear exploring a bunch of different careers. I worked at nonprofits. I worked in a finance department at a logistics company. And finally, I decided on going back to school for computer science. And that's where I met my co-founder, and I became the technical co-founder of a company called helphub.com, which was a learning management solution and kind of like a tutoring social network. So going through all of that stuff as the technical co-founder, I learned that there was a bunch of things that I really enjoyed, which were product management tasks. And so for the past few years, I've been working as an engineer, trying to become a product manager. And I think that's where I met Sara at part of the Queen's Masters in Management, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship. And more recently, I just became a PM at Workday. So that was June of this year.
Thank you so much, Alex, for introducing yourself. And I will say the same to you as well. Thank you so much for agreeing to be part of this webinar series. And I can't wait to, because I have the same background as you guys. I can't wait to ask you all about like what really made you choose this profession. So without further ado, let's just dig into our panel discussion. So Alex and Iman, you had very similar background, tech background, but very different journey to product management. My question to each of you is like, why product management? Because you have technical background, right? And it's very highly sought after a skill set, but why? So maybe Iman, you can go first, and then Alex, you next.
Thank you. That's a good question, asking the why part. I'll say I have a less technical background than both of you. I did my bachelor in IT with a business perspective. So it's all about like business analysts and trying to understand the business needs so you can like flip them in requirements, technical requirements. That like was my first initial training. I'll say I started my career doing the job of an analyst. I was not 100% fulfilled. So, I mean, the best question to ask is why not? That's how I became a product owner. So I did a lot of little job. I worked like as a business analyst, as a efficiency analyst. I did a lot of project management, more on the technical side, a lot of implementation of systems. So I was always like, oh, I'm missing something, you know. I have this little fire of entrepreneur inside of me. So how the hell can I just like be more happy and try to bring any added value? There's a big concept for me when I work or in my personal life. It's the concept of added value. So if I'm here, it's because I can bring any added value. And I was doing my job, but I was not feeling like, I mean, I'm doing that extra miles that can change the world and defy the status quo. So then the whole agility is becoming more popular, you know, and I heard about IT and the transformational journey. And I work in the banking industry, and we understand that there's a lot of banking right now trying to go into this digital transformation. I got the opportunity as a functional analyst. I took it. It's a little more technical than a business analyst. And then I got another opportunity where they asked me, do you want to fill a position by interim of a product owner? And I'm like, oh yes, I want. Like, I mean, all the baggage, all the luggage that I had for the last couple of years, I mean, I put it together. And that's why product owners, so like the whole 360 view is present basically. So you can have the needs, you can build requirements, you can build a story, you can connect with the people. That's what really got me. And from me, I'm an entrepreneur. So I'm like, it's nice to work on systems and solution and to understand them, but I need more. And the more was the connection with the people, was the more was building a story, was creating something that has an impact for people. And I feel like as a product owner, you have a little more control on the backlog, more freedom to think with your team. And that was for me the path to be like, oh, I got it. I can bring added value in that kind of position. So I don't know if I answered your question, Sara.
Definitely did. There's a lot of passion I see. We're talking about it, and I can relate to a lot of these. But I also want to know from Alex. Alex, you have to, because you have been in this technical space for a very long time and very hands-on. But you did chance to go to engineering management route, right? This very higher level, and you can also see from overview of that product, not just being the individual contributor. Why not engineering management but the product management?
So I would say when I was working in an engineering management role, I really didn't like the people aspect. And when I say that, I mean, I enjoyed working with people. I enjoyed like planning projects with people. I enjoyed finding out people's needs and then turning those into a solution. What I really didn't enjoy was having to rank people, having to have the hard conversations, and really not just being a friend and equal to the people I work with. I didn't enjoy power over people. I really wanted to empower people more. And I think one thing I find with product management is I get to define the roadmap and help inspire people to do their best work. So I get to talk with a group of engineers and give them a roadmap and tell them the why behind what they're doing. So if we have a big project coming up that maybe looks a little bit boring, I can really sell it to the team in a way that shows them how we're going to help our customers and how we're going to help our organization and our company succeed. So that we can all succeed together. So I think really for me, the people management aspect just wasn't compelling ever. But the working with other people has always been what I enjoy doing.
And so this is very interesting, is having that technical knowledge gives you leverage to speak both language, right? In your masters, just like us, right, Iman, as well, like in the business, so you understand both languages. But what do you think is different by being a technical manager and conveying those information versus being the product manager conveying those information to technical and business stakeholders?
So I think a lot of the work I do is really translating between those two groups, the business stakeholders and then the technical engineering folks. And what I find a lot is that the technical folks really like to give you a perfect view of what they could possibly build and all of the problems that might get in their way. Where people on the business side more want to hear about the vision and strategy of the company. And they only really care about the technical implementation to the point where it gets done within a reasonable amount of time and a reasonable amount of robustness. So I think a lot of what I do is fill in the blanks when those two groups are talking to each other to make sure that we're all kind of aligned as a team. And at the end of the day, we have to follow the business vision and strategy for our group. But we have to be real with the business team and ensure that they understand the consequences of a lot of technical decisions.
That's very interesting as well, because sometimes you just have to kind of like change the language, right? Because when you're talking to your engineer buddies, you don't have to think about whether they will understand or not understand because you're just speaking the one language. But when you become a bridge, then you have to become a switch, right, between the business and the technical one. So it's an interesting part of it. But Iman, my question to you is, you do mention that you were offered product owner role, right? And you have touched project management as well. But the product management route is very different than project management route, right? What basically helped you build that rapport to choose you, but not someone else? Is there something that you can touch on that is extremely important? And is it visibility, or what kind of skills visibility that would help people within the company?
Yes, I mean, I got the opportunity. So offering is a big word, but I got the opportunity that came like right back. So I had a summer studying exchange in Vienna. So I just came back from Vienna, and then I got the opportunity, went through that. So I'm like, okay, let's take it. But I do agree. The product management is like, it's big. You have a lot of different roles. I'm a product owner. So my job is the product itself. So I own a backlog. I make sure I can prioritize that backlog, bring any added value, work directly with the team. And then I report to a product manager that brings the vision. So I'm more focused on the 0 to 3 months. And then my product manager with who I work is more on the 0 to 12 months. That's the way we work. So in my opinion, the set of skills that you really need is, of course, creativity. I mean, you can do so much with what you have. You'll always have the answer. I don't have money, I don't have time, make it happen. So how the hell you make that happen? I mean, and you cannot cut. As a product owner, your backlog is intense. You have a lot of stuff going there, and it's urgent for everyone. So, I mean, how can you manage the fact that this priorities goes on? Can you deal with your capabilities? So you have X number of developers. Crap, oh, I need more analysts, but I don't have more analysts. So how you can play with all of that? And so creativity is important. I'll say communication. You get a good point. As a product owner, you build a bridge between the business and IT. That's it. That's the job basically. So you're the first contact. So you gotta be good at communication, and you gotta be good at telling story. I really love the term storytelling. When you speak to people from the business, they don't necessarily understand the technical part, and they don't care, to be honest. And that's where this part of storytelling is important. So you gotta be good at telling a story that they understand in their own terms. And then you got to be good at taking the information from those stakeholders to bring it to your team. But your team, I mean, that's another audience. So you got to tell them the same story using different words so they can understand. So that's why I really think it's like building a bridge between those two. So creativity, storytelling, communication, I think determination. Sometimes we're going to be like, oh, wow, I have all the bad news, but I still need to deliver. So I think you need to have that little firecracker inside of you. Like, okay, I got this, I can make it happen. And empathy. And you see, I don't go into the technical part, because for me, soft skills are the most important thing in that kind of job. The technical part, you can learn it while working. Empathy is a big one, because when you're coming to your stakeholders to announce like another bad news, all we can deliver, we have to push whatever thing out of the backlog because to blah, 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 blah. I mean, you got to have empathy. You got to sit with your people, speak to them, understand how they feel, understand how, okay, I understand that like you're disappointed. So let's work together. Empathy is a big thing. And even when you're speaking with stakeholders, they're telling you their needs. You got to be able to place yourself in their shoes. So maybe sometimes they don't know what they want actually. So there's a lot of human part here. If I can resume it in one word, it's human. You got to be human. That's, I think, is the most important part when you're a PO, in my opinion.
And what do you is, because a lot of times we're dealing with internal stakeholders, and
Yep.
we're dealing with outsiders and the clients, right? And they do not, they're just bringing their pain points and not understand them right away, and they do not understand your system. So which part you believe is like having, you know, a stronghold, at what part is more necessary for, you know, becoming a valuable asset for the business, for the company you're working at? Like which part where you wouldn't work well will actually take down everything, you know, internally or your externally?
I mean, I think the like the two major thing you need as a PO is communication and collaboration. That's like, it's a big team. Like, you're running with your team to make it happen. But if you don't have communication and collaboration, that's going to be hard, because you're here for your team, but you're also here for your stakeholders. You represent the stakeholders when it comes to your backlog and to your team. So I think those two, if you don't have them, I mean, it's going to be hard to mark our goal, in my opinion.
That's actually true, very true, because you never know, because both of them, they are bringing you know, business, right?
Yeah.
So Alex, one question that is on my mind is, you have been technical resource, now you're an amazing bridge between the technical resource, and you are the product manager as well. Do you think you would ever go back to what you were doing, provided that there's so much demand, provided that like they have so much you know, handsome salary package? I'm just putting in there. So what are your thoughts about that?
I don't think I will go back. I mean, if I have to, hopefully the job is always there. But right now, I think as a product manager, I'm much more fulfilled with the why of what we're doing, and getting that opportunity to really have my decision be the bet that the company makes. One of the things that I love about my job is that I get to see different aspects of our business and how they operate. So I get to understand how our sales team operates, how our account managers and customer success operates, and then how we come up with this vision for the company. So for me, I really get to explore everything that the company is doing, which is really what motivates me, versus on the engineering side, I only get to explore engineering solutions, which although I enjoyed them, I don't think I was fulfilled as much.
That's actually, you know, I kind of relate to what you are saying, because when I was deciding my next 5 years, I had product manager, project manager, engineering manager, these roles on, because I'm transitioning from into like in like I forgot that, contributor, individual contributor to, you know, manager, right? By being manager, and then when you have so much roles, having manager in that, you kind of have to decide, like, where do I fit in? And then do I really like being the project manager? How different it is from being the product manager and product manager, who like which role is more fulfilling, right? Product manager or not. And then again, you have engineering management. Like, you, if you love tech, for example, and you want to be in that space, you don't want to leave, you know, lose that touch, right? Technical touch. So it's kind of difficult, because for me as well, it was very difficult. But I think it was, like you said, empathy and, you know, really understanding people. That was the part which I wouldn't find in other roles, right? As very main aspect of it. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I also decided to go towards that. So I'm just gonna pause for a second, and I'm gonna ask if anybody has any questions. If not, then we'll move on in the audience. Okay, so I'll say we don't have any questions. So my last question to both of you would be, if you have to tell somebody who is not transitioning from inside, right? If you ever had a chance to transition from outside, how how will you use those skill set that you have accumulated in different roles, not in product management or product owner role, to leverage and then step into the industry? Iman, you can go first.
I mean, if I'm taking the PO role, it's all about creating, prioritizing, and creating added value. And we all did that in our jobs. Like either you're accountant or I don't know, a project manager, or you're a doctor. We all worked in that kind of way. We prioritize, we can create, and we want to bring added value. So I mean, at some point, don't be scared regarding the technical part. We can always learn that. I mean, I'm not telling you you're going to write a 1,000 line of code, but I mean, you still need to understand your product, and it depends. I mean, you can have products that are more technical than others. It really depends. So bottom line, I just think that don't be scared, because sometimes the luggage that you're having with you, you have no idea how it can like trigger your mind, open doors. So I'll be honest, what's coming is exciting. It's different. It's a solution to, I do think it's a solution to a bunch of problems in the world. So don't be shy, jump in. Even if you don't have the tech skills, you can learn them. And just keep an open mind. Open mind, creativity, innovation, storytelling, communication, and you'll have it. That's my honest opinion.
And Alex, what do you think?
I would say learn how to translate what you've been doing into the work that you want to do as a product manager. So that's the big things there are taking your company's strategy and vision and listening to the voice of the customer and being able to translate that into something that is some sort of a product, whether that's adding more to your product, taking more away from your product, or even using your product for a different use case. I think any hiring manager that sees that you can take those different influences and translate them into something that can add value for the business will understand that all of your other skills will translate into the domain. So like Iman said, you don't need the technical skills necessarily, but you do need the ability to understand what your customer wants and what your organization's goals are in general.
Okay, so I think I did say that was my question, but I think I lied. I have one more question. Because we all came from different backgrounds, right? And we had different journey, but we were from a very similar program, MMI. How did MMI actually help you build those skills? And my question is to both of you.
I'll say MMI empowered me through that. And you know, I mean, on paper, I don't have 10 years of experience. No, not at all. And let's be honest, PO, PDM, all those roles, they're all new. I mean, it's all emerging roles, and a lot of companies are still trying to figure how they can fit them in their own company. So I'll say MMI empowered me. They give me the wings to just believe and, you know, let it go ahead, take a chance. So that's how MMI influenced me, because right when I came back from Vienna, I did a bootcamp in innovation, and I see my friend Anthony on the call. We went with him and another friend. I mean, right when I came back to Montreal, I was like, the opportunity came, and I'm like, do it, because even if you don't have the set of skills right now or the amount of experience, you're gonna learn, and it's okay. So it's this little kick in the butt, if I can say it like that. Like, go ahead. And you, Alex?
My answer is much more literal. So one of our classes, I think, was called organizational innovation or operational innovation. And one of the questions that we asked in that class was, where do we want to be as a group? And in my interview, I was asked to kind of deal with a customer that had some sort of data issue. And I took the framework from that class literally and wrote it out on a whiteboard and started filling it in by talking to the different interviewers about it. And one of the questions that I had written up there was, where do we want to be? What's our higher level goal? And that was something that the interviewers pointed out to me as one of the reasons that they hired me at the level that they did, was because not a lot of people take the time to ask where we're going, versus, how to solve this problem. So I think that was like the biggest help for me. One of the other areas that I found really helped was our marketing introduction. So I had no experience with that, and learning how to identify an ideal customer, how we reach them, where we reach them, and how we solve their problem in the best way for them. I think is there are a bunch of skills that I use every day from that.
I think I do agree with the marketing part. It really helped me. It was something new for me, sales and marketing. And it really helped me from a different perspective because I was always thinking from the solutions perspective, not really, okay, what is the problem? No, I want to build something like that. No, no, no. You have to think from the problems perspective first. So that was very, interesting course for me, and it really helped me think from a different perspective. I think we are on time right now, and I want to introduce our very next speaker. And this next speaker, another wonderful lady, she has also been my mentor. I have talked to her a lot, and she's one of the reasons that really helps me build the rapport and get into the product management space. So I don't want to introduce you, you introduce you, right? So please, Farzeen, take the floor is yours, please.
All right, thank you, Sara. And first of all, I just have to say that I'm really enjoying this panel. And it's so nice to hear from all of you young people and all the passion that you share. So it's pretty good. I'm actually learning a lot myself, so that's good. And it's unbelievable how much I can relate with you guys because I don't have a formal training in product management. But my journey kind of led me to be where I am. And so much of it is relatable of what both Iman and Alex have shared about their journey. So a little about me. I'm a senior product manager at SimCorp. It's a service provider. It's owned by 3 of the top banks in Canada. And I'm part of their fintech wing, if you will. And my mandate is to do a lot of transformation within the payments. So, we do a lot of machine learning products and some of the payment innovation products. So transforming how we do payments today and modernizing that journey. So that's my responsibility. Prior to that, I had actually, it's funny, when Sara was asking me about sharing my experience, my experience is kind of all over the place. It's not as streamlined as you guys. So I graduated from U of T in business. So I did BCom and I specialized in finance. And when I was doing my degree, I thought that I was going to become an investment banker because that was my dream job. And that's why I specialized in finance. And my goal was that as soon as I finished my school, I'll go and write my CFA. And then there I will be. I'll just be an investment banker. And, I'll just be working on like Bay Street or Wall Street, all of those high-end goals. But what I did was I did get an intern position in my final year. To work with an investment banker just to understand what it's like. And I realized that it's just so boring. It's not me. I have, like a lot of you've mentioned, an entrepreneur side to me. have started 3 of businesses on my own as well. So while I was doing the internship, I realized, I don't want to deal with numbers all day. And it's not giving me any kind of fulfillment, the fulfillment that I need. I want to interact with people more. I want to solve problems. And when you think about solving problems, there's many fields that solve problems. Engineers solve problems. They solve biggest problems, I would say. But the thing is, I didn't have a degree in engineering, but I knew that I have a brain, like I have my instincts that, I always, when I'm challenged or I'm, facing a problem, right away, my brain breaks it down into, okay, how do I simplify this? It's not such a big deal. How do I approach it so that, it can be solved? Every problem has a solution, and that has been my belief, right? So anyway, so that kind of experience working as an intern in the investment banking made me realize one thing, that's not what I wanted to do, which was great because I found out very early on before I graduated. My second problem was, what do I do now? Because my degree is in finance. And so by fluke, I landed a job as a business analyst. It was a contract position with TD. And I was like, okay, well, I'll take it. I'll take anything because I'm jobless and I need a job. And I had no idea what that entails. Like, what does that do? And so obviously my first couple of weeks were pretty scary because I did not know what to do. I did not know any tools, anything. I would just be there, and there was no training at the time for it. And so I was just like, okay, I don't understand. What am I doing here? What is my job? Like, what am I supposed to do? And eventually you get a grip of it and you understand, okay. And then one thing I very quickly realized, that this is the job that I loved, because business analysis gave me the perfect opportunity to be that bridge. I know, Iman, you told about storytelling. That's one of the unique features of business analysis, that you can tell stories, you can communicate to business and simplify things for them in their language, exactly to Iman's point. And you can speak to technology and tell them that what the business objective is and how can we accomplish that. Dealing with multiple stakeholders, working with cross-functional teams, leading the requirement session, interviewing people. So you build a lot of core skill set that as I progressed in my career, until this day, I use it on a daily basis, but I actually attribute my success to my initial role as being a business analyst, because that really prepared me for the role that I have today and what I do today. So aside from that, I'm also a CrossFitter. So I also am a road cyclist as well. And those are the things I love doing on my free time and letting my frustrations and energy out. Along with that, I'm also a mother. And I also have a very big passion for solving people's problem. I think of product, and not just me, it is true. The product is the solution. And it's just providing a solution to people for any problem that they're facing. So I'm very passionate about that as well.
Well, you had a very wonderful journey, that for sure. And you're an amazing mother. I have been part of, like, a little part of her life as well. So I had a very, opportunity to see her up close. And then it's a little secret, but I was inspired by you too, right? I'm telling this online. But, I saw that, like, I heard you had a journey. You had to, you're a senior product manager now, right? You took on multiple roles, right? Before becoming senior product manager, you have been business analyst, you have been product owner, you have been product manager. So my question to you is, what a typical day look like for these different roles, right? What is the difference between the business analyst versus the product owner versus the product manager? And if coming from the perspective of somebody who wants to get into that space, can I choose one, role and then apply for that role? Or is it like a career, ladder that you are, climbing? I'm just asking you a question, maybe you can answer. Well,
Yeah. So that's a good question. And to be honest, there are a lot of similarities in all three of them. And I would say that communication, collaboration, creativity um, is the key to all three of them. So if you have that, if you're very good at communicating, if you're very good at storytelling, if you're very good at problem solving, all three of the roles is something that you can do very easily. Now, if you get a little bit technical and think about the differences, so before the agile came along and before agile became popular, maybe not just agile was there for a long time, but before it became popular and became, the companies started adopting it quite at large. There was a waterfall methodology, and at that time, the way the companies were doing or solving problems or bringing about new products was in a very waterfall way, which was, the product team would come up with a concept or an idea, and then they would reach their operations team or engage with business analyst and a PM to then go, deliver this. So they will engage those resources on the delivery side, and those resources will help. So business analysts will help elicit requirements. They'll document their requirements, and then they'll pass it to the technology folks, so BSAs and so forth. So then they'll go and develop a solution design document. So I don't know if anybody on the call is familiar with BRD, which was the business requirement document, and then the SRD, which was the solution requirement document. The thing that was important to note is that during this, because the teams were not working in a collaborative way, there was a lot of disconnect. And by the time, it would take years and years for the solution to be developed. And by the time it was in the market, things had already changed. So we have all been part of that, experience, and have learned about it in some way or the other. So while I really enjoyed my role as a business analyst, what I felt lacking in, because I was a millennial and I was seeing how, especially working at banks, because I just noticed that there is a very strong need for us to change mindset, how we do things. I was always questioning, why are we building this? It doesn't make any sense. Who told us to build this? Like, is the customer telling us to build this? So that kind of thinking, and that got me in trouble a couple of times too, because I didn't. I love how Iman says challenging the status quo, and that was my problem. A good problem to have, I guess, because because I was always wondering, but what are we doing? Like, I don't agree with us solving it this way. Maybe there's a better way to do it. Did the customer tell us? Why didn't we observe the customer? Did we talk to the customer? Does the customer want this thing? So there was so many layers of detachment that it didn't make sense. So that's the part that I associate when I think of business analysis for. Like, I mean, it's great skill. You're leading. You're wearing multiple hats. You're kind of like learning about project management. You're kind of learning about the delivery side, operations. You're working with technology. That's all fantastic. But I just felt that there was no, I'm still not finding the purpose and the why of what we're doing, right? So then we were transforming. There was major transformation happening. I got engaged in some of the projects that were pretty high, profile projects. And then we're also going through agile transformation. And that's where I learned about the PO role. And I realized, okay, you know what, this is a different way of doing things. You're more connected to the product and the solution and the why, and then, the storytelling, and then writing your requirements in a way which are actually meaningful, not instead in putting it all in one document that nobody understands. You're actually breaking it down into chunks that are actually understandable. And it's literally like a story. So what I would say the biggest distinction, so I'll drop the BA part, the business analyst part, because I think I touched about it. What is the key difference? It's the same role, it's just analyst role, kind of bridge between, you do very specific task-oriented functions. Now, when it comes to PO and PM, the biggest difference is in majority of the companies, it's very obvious. In some companies, it's not. The smaller companies, it's an overlap of a role, but in big companies, there is very distinct roles that they perform. So PM, if you think about it, it's more on the business and strategy and market side. So So in my current role, a lot of my work involves market research, going out into the field and talking to the customers, understanding what their problem is, figuring out our go-to-market strategy, pricing strategy, a lot of the P&L pieces as well. So if you think about the product or I'm speaking now in terms of the scaled agile world. So desirability, feasibility, viability, all three components. It's my job to make sure that, I have a I've done enough work to understand it. And then whatever I hear in the field, whatever new product that I'm looking at, or old, existing product I'm looking at, once I've done my desirability, feasibility, viability test, I bring focus to the group. So I may have like 1,000 different ideas, or I may have encountered 1,000 different problems, 1,000 different ways of solving it. But by doing all of that, I have to come up with a strategy that would help form a focus, which will then result into a roadmap. And that roadmap then gets created, and then the Scrum team, which will include a PO, which works, by the way, very closely with me, to then deliver. So my PO is my right-hand person that understands me the best, and we work very well together, because once I give my roadmap, I am not involved in day-to-day of how those features are going to get developed or how those epics are going to look like. So I will look at things that are epic-wise and make sure that it's aligned with the roadmap, it's aligned to what customers were asking for. So I'm more connected towards the customers and business side and the market. And the PO is the face for all of the product that's happening internally. They understand very well what the customer wanted through me. And then now they are more involved with the development team and the engineering team. So if you are someone who still loves the technology and wants to know how it's all working and coming along and wants to take that leadership of making sure the product is developing the way the customer wanted, then you are that person, the PO person, because that is it's more development facing work. It's more, FaceTime with the engineers, your developers, your QAs, your scrums, and then you basically make that product happen. The product that was a vision, you basically bring it to life. And with me, I create the vision, I oversight of it, and then the PO is very much involved in the development and execution of it. I don't know if I answered it, but that's the distinction.
Answered, and thank you so much for breaking it down, because when I wanted to get into the space, right, the first time you get discovered, you just hear about product manager, right? And I didn't know that now there are certain other roles that are touching this product management, and there is segregation, right? So I was thinking from the perspective of, okay, what's the business analyst versus what's the product owner? Should I apply for specifically business analyst and product, or the product owner? Because if you just go on LinkedIn, there are so much more openings over there, right? And so I have from the perspective of, even the, when it comes to your resumes and, preparing for the interview, you kind of have to slightly change your strategy as well. Whether you're going for outbound product managers, who are going to be dealing with the business and the clients, outside stakeholders, versus product owner and all. And I ended up being the technical product manager, which is also depends on the company to company, is kind of different, right? And I believe that Sarojini also have asked me a question. I'm happy to answer that, but at the end. So my question for you is, you are a senior product manager, and you have had a chance to work with multiple different product managers or business analysts and product owner. So as a hiring manager, what tips would you, what are the, maybe we talked about do's, but what are the don'ts, right? As a PM or a PO, and who do you think would stand out, right? If you're meeting a lot of potential candidates who want to be in that space.
Yeah. So for me, I have a very different style of interviewing and talking to the candidates. My style is more conversation. So I want to know when I'm interviewing somebody, I want to know how genuine they are, first of all. Like, I don't care about your education. I mean, yes, it's good. You need to have it, but I really don't care about your different certificates and degrees you have. That's all great. But if, you're competing against other, candidates that have the same education background as you, what I am looking at is how well can you communicate? Can you tell me a story? How collaborative you are. How important teamwork is for you. I know it sounds like it's very general and everybody has it and everybody talks about it, but it is such a critical thing in this particular role because, and you know what, it sounds a lot of time, it sounds very maybe like fun and glamorous. It is a lot of fun, but it has a lot of challenging side too, because you are the face of the product and you are the face. So my challenges are very different, because my KPIs, for example, for my product, or like if I like, I'm in a role right now where there is no product. I am the one who needs to come up with a brand new, net new product, and create a vision and focus for it. So I need to deliver something. That's what I'm judged on. That's what I'm, at the end of the year, I'll be like, okay, what is your KPI? What is your product doing? How well it is doing? Have we met our metrics and stuff? But for a PO, you are a face of this whole product world. How the development, if the development didn't go well, if the cycles were missed, if there was some, like a lot of like lag or defects, like it all boils down to, did you do your job well? Like, were you able to drive the conversations in a way where the story is written in a way where the collaboration is happening in a way? And the thing is, because you're working with a cross-functional team, you're relying on multiple people too. So the communication skill becomes extremely critical on how well you're able to connect with people and how well you're able to have influence for them to get the job done in the right way. And in an agile world, the best thing is because everybody's empowered, there is no hierarchy. So you need to make sure that everybody is working at their optimal level and loving what they're doing, right? So if there is a lot of friction in the team, if there is like elements of negativity, it might impact how how your sprint goes. Like, so little things can change the outcome of a sprint. And as a PO, you're very much responsible to manage all of that. So for me, like, technical skills, that's great, but I am always looking for soft skills more. The person should be resilient, because there will be many, many more times there will be failure, because especially if you're working for a fintech or like a tech company, or any kind of agile company, you have to fail fast. So you will be faced with many adversity, like a lot of challenges, and you need to really, really know how to rebound fast. So I'm usually asking questions that will tell me, what their thought process is, and if they run into a problem, how fast they can recover from it. So that's usually some of the key elements that I'm looking at. I don't really do technical interviews. It's mostly soft skills.
Thank you so much for answering that. I do see we are a bit over time, but we have a question that I want to cover. What are the top 3 challenges being a product manager? And I think we only have 2 minutes remaining. So
Okay.
yes, definitely answer.
Okay, no problem. So I would say that ambiguity. You are faced with ambiguity every single day, because sometimes you don't know if you're making decisions that are going to lead to success, right? So, and then understanding, really, did you really understand what the customer wanted? So how you deal with that is when you're doing your discovery work, and empathy. I know it was raised earlier too, and not just being empathetic towards your team members, but being empathetic towards your customer, and just observing what their lifestyle is, or wherever you're trying to find a solution, understanding how they're going through their day-to-day tasks that you're trying to make it simplified for them, just what happens, what their background is, where they're coming from, how do they react to it, what emotions they deal with when they're encountering the situation. That empathy part is very important. And so again, like you have to step out of your zone, make sure you're wearing multiple hats. You have to answer to a lot of people. You're going to be the person that's going to be responsible for the success or the failure of the product, and so you're going to be accountable for it too. So being able to communicate that well, not with your peer level, but at the executive level, and sometimes the executive level. So those are the the day-to-day challenges that you have to deal with when you are a product manager.
Did that answer your question, Deepak? Do we have Deepak? Yeah, okay, thanks. So we just have 1 minute, less than 1 minute left. Okay, we have one hands up. Adit, yeah, you can go, definitely.
Yeah, thank you for sharing these fantastic insights from your experience. So a quick question, how would you assess these soft skills, be it in terms of teamwork, collaboration? You alluded to the fact that, yeah, everyone has it and everyone knows about how important or critical is that, but what are your KPIs or what are the variables on which you would assess such soft skills?
I usually like to hear about stories and challenging situations. I would sometimes give a scenario. I would usually like tell a situation or, ask you to do, a metaphorical question. Like, let's just say I tell you, tell me, I want to build a bridge and tell me how you're going to do that. So I'll throw in questions like that. And I just, all I'm trying to see is that there is no right answer how you respond. There is no right answer. I don't know the answer myself, but I'm just trying to understand and gauge your thought process and on how you approach the question. What you ask me back, what different steps you take that touch on teamwork, collaboration, or your analytical thinking, problem solving, all of those situations. And if you really are that way, it will come out because it's an open-ended general conversation and it's not something that you can memorize in a textbook, right? So
thank you.
Okay, so if we don't have any other question, we're gonna close. I'm going to answer you, Sarojini. I did not forget you. So Sarojini, my journey has been very long. From me deciding or even knowing about product management to actually getting into product management. I actually started my journey to product management when I was in Pakistan, and that's like a decade ago. I was doing a project on the side. I was a vendor, and I was doing on a freelance basis, right? Without even knowing the fancy word for it, right? And then I am on my full-time job. I was an engineer, and I moved to Japan where I was exposed to multiple different teams, offshore and onshore, multiple clients, indoor stakeholders, and outbound stakeholders as well. So working in a very, very large team, you get to meet a lot of people from different roles and different background. And I met a wonderful friend who was a product manager, and I asked him, why do you have a manager in your role when you're not managing anybody? And that was my question. I was like, what you're talking about? I'm not somebody's manager. I'm not a people's manager, right? But I am the manager of the product that you are building as an engineer. And I got interested in it. I got intrigued. And a lot of things that he was telling me about was something that I was doing as a freelancer, right? I had my clients, I was deliberating with them why we are building this and that without actually knowing that I'm doing certain things. And obviously I was not doing professionally. That means I was not using best practices. And I only came to know about it when I started working with them. And so I took my, from engineering, I was also a Scrum Master. I'm not a certified Scrum Master, by the way. So there I started managing people, right? And I was not only looking into, contributing as an engineer, doing my task, and my task is done, I'm all gone. I don't like meetings, right? But being the Scrum Master, I became one step closer to product owners, right? And then I was like, I am more interested in, taking charge from the product bigger picture, right? And then I started talking about how I want to be product manager, and I did not know a lot of concepts, and I started taking interviews. And excuse me for saying this, I sucked at it. I blew all the interviews. I don't know what they were asking. I didn't know how to answer that, because every single time my thought process was going into engineering, every single time. And so this is one of the reasons I knew, like, I have to do product. I need to get into that space because I want to be better at that. And so I moved to Canada, where I was doing my master's in innovation and entrepreneurship, which was essentially a product management from the scratch, right? And it's taking you to every single step of product management should you actually deal with the frustration and move forward. And I think I learned best practices. I get exposed to, like Alex mentioned, marketing, sales, clients, getting out there. This was the very first time in Canada that I went out to find leads, in the conference, and started talking to people. You can think me as somebody who just wants to be in their cubicle with burgers. That's all I was. So I started talking to people. I started learning how to build rapport, right? It's very important for you if you want to be you're in a different country, right? You don't have experience in the market of that particular country, right? You have never worked in any company in that particular country. You don't have experience in product manager in any country, right? But you still want to be there. I was getting a lot of roles in the engineering. So what I did is I realized there's something wrong with my resume as well. Even though I have done masters, I have accumulated that concepts. I started freelancing again. But this time I specifically mentioned that I'm going to be a freelance product manager, right? For you. So I started working for startups, and I told them, like, okay, this is how I'm going to provide you value. And I started doing internships, right, as well. And I use that experience in my resume. Sometimes you're doing certain things, like Alex and Iman also mentioned about certain responsibilities that that is touching product management or product ownership, but you're doing under different roles. So I was doing this. But sometimes when you're coming for a different country, the roles are different. The role titles are even different, and they wouldn't look into your resume under responsibility if it's something like engineering. No, that they might not see. So I started changing resume that really helped me get noticed. And I started using mentioning those experience only that touches product management in one way or the other. And this was the first step of getting the interview. The first interview I get, again, I sucked out on that because I did not know how to answer those questions, because like everyone said here, Farzeen also mentioned, communication is extremely important, right? Because if you don't show that confidence, you need to believe in that yourself first. If you don't show this confidence, being a product manager, they don't want you there because you have to deal with a lot of ambiguity, right? And so this is what I changed. And I started focusing on standing out in the interview. Interviewers are doing a lot of interviews. They're meeting a lot of candidates. A lot of candidates are answering rehearsed questions. You have to rehearse a little bit, but what is something that you can say that even after the interview, they will remember? Yeah. So they will remember, and they would want to, if you don't screw the interview, they would want to meet you again. Right. And that's one of the things happened, which I will cover maybe in another session because we are over time. Sarojini, I hope I answered your questions. So that's how I actually became technical product manager. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. Thank you, Iman, Alex, and Farzeen for being here. Do we have any other questions? Right. Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna actually, there's gonna be another few sessions which will be targeted towards rapport building as the product manager if you want to be in that space. And following these series, we will also cover related roles, which is project management, Scrum Master, engineering management, so that you can make informed decisions for your next career in future. So thank you, everyone, for.
Thank you, Sara.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.